how do you select tests? Like some of the advice that we've talked about with other guests is like the first step in launching an A/B test is having an idea of what to test and if it's worth testing and selecting your tests. And I think you kind of hit on that point a little bit with the website optimization, but I'm wondering if you could go a little deeper on that for our listeners.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I think there's like a very rigorous way to do this, right? You say, okay, if we break down all of our options into numbers and we say, let's just say like website optimization, for example. I've gone through this exercise with my team. You look at the website, how much monthly traffic does each page get? If you break that into like impressions and like amount of clicks and like how that converts into signups, what are those relative rates? If you apply lifts against them, what's the size of the prize? And you eventually turn it into like a math equation where you can look at, okay, if we test on this page and see this expected lift, we can generate this many more incremental signups, which turn into this many dollars based on historical conversion rates, yada, yada, yada. And you basically turn it into like a big spreadsheet with different variables that point you to like, this should be done first, this should be in the second, third, fourth, fifth, and stack ranking. I think that's a great way to do it in the beginning because you can basically apply some methodology, numbers, logic to the madness. The challenge is when you don't have that data and you actually can't like turn it into a simple equation. And that's where I think you kind of, again, have to lean on a bit of the art around it and say like, well, intuitively, like where do we think makes the most sense? It's probably a combination of what hasn't been touched in a while. Where do we know a bunch of people go to? And what do we think is the most valuable piece of the pie? And so, in a world where perfect data doesn't exist and earlier on at startups, you typically don't have access to the data, you kind of have to lean onto that intuition, which is built and developed over time as you work on the business and you start to get a feel for where the highest leverage points are.